Hi, Cathy. Malika Andrews, ESPN. I just wanted to get some clarity on some of the specifics that Nafisa Collier said about your conversation that you had that was previously private. Did you in fact say that, quote, players should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the rights deal that I got them?
There's a lot.
Could the Indiana Fever, a club that many thought was poised for greatness, be crumbling from the inside out? Get ready for a news that has shocked not just the WNBA but the entire basketball world. The Indiana Fever were the talk of the league just 6 months ago. The future appeared more promising than it has in years. Stuff flew off the racks, and fans filled Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Everyone believed that the organization had finally regained its feet. However, beneath the surface, tensions were rising, cracks were appearing, and a storm was building that would soon burst into the open. It had been a truly miraculous turnaround. A squad that had endured years of hardship and played to small audiences in a city that seemed to have forgotten about its WNBA team found itself at the epicenter of a basketball revival. It was electric energy. It was contagious optimism. People proudly donned Fever jerseys everywhere you looked. The squad received unprecedented support from local companies. Restaurants developed meal items with a Fever theme. Bars promoted specials for game day. The club was suddenly featured on the main page of the sports section several times a week in the Indianapolis Star, which had previously limited Fever coverage to sporadic backpage references. Longtime season ticket holder Patricia Anderson remarked, "It felt like 2012 all over again," referring to the year the Fever won their lone WNBA title. It felt even better than that, in fact. There was an amazing buzz. My grandchildren were requesting to attend games. The Fever was a topic of conversation among co-workers. It fulfilled all of our expectations. Enrollment in Indiana's youth basketball leagues surged. Young ladies who had never given basketball much thought now wanted to play. Coaches claimed that their players were studying the game with an intensity they had never seen before, imitating plays, and attempting hallmark techniques they had seen in Fever games. There had a significant economic impact. According to local economics, Fever home games were bringing in millions of dollars. On game nights, hotels close to the arena were completely occupied. Parking lots have higher fees. The downtown Indianapolis economy was affected, but as many others have discovered, prosperity can be brittle. And issues were simmering inside the Fever's practice facility. In retrospect, there were signs, but they were faint and easily overlooked. The kind of small disagreement that occurs in every competitive setting. During practice, a player is sitting by himself on the bench. A disgruntled gesture made by a coach during a timeout, or a mysterious social media post that could have any meaning. Jessica Wallace, a seasoned WNBA reporter, wrote a piece headlined "Growing Pains," the Fever's unexpected challenges at the beginning of March. It received little attention at the time. The headline appeared to be standard sports journalism, creating drama for cliques by identifying issues where none seemed to exist. Wallace, however, had detected something. She had seen body language during media-accessible practices. At team meals, she had seen which players were seated together and which were not. She had monitored social media exchanges, observing who was enjoying the posts of others and who had completely ceased participating. In a subsequent podcast appearance, Wallace clarified that there was a disconnect. Something felt strange, but I couldn't pinpoint it. While the breezes were present, not everyone was experiencing the thrill. Her worries were ignored by other reporters. The Fever was on the rise. There was an increase in attendance. What more is there to ask for? In the realm of professional sports, success frequently conceals dysfunction. At least temporarily, teams with serious internal issues can nonetheless prevail in games. Chemistry problems are similar to carbon monoxide poisoning, according to former NBA coach Jeff Van Gundy. It's only after it's too late that you realize you have a problem. For the Indiana Fever, his words turned out to be prescient. Assistant coaches, equipment managers, front desk employees, and team insiders had observed tensions but thought they were typical. There are players on every squad who don't get along well. Later, an unidentified employee acknowledged, "We thought it would work itself out. We reasoned that any rough edges would be smoothed over by victory." That presumption would turn out to be disastrously incorrect. Everyone was stunned by Commissioner Cathy Engelbert's unusual statement, which came as a lightning bolt. Engelbert disclosed that 3 key players are apparently leaving the Indiana Fever in a move that few anticipated, causing immediate uncertainty and indignation. This goes beyond simply changing the roster. The league's entire terrain is altered by this seismic catastrophe. There was hardly 4 hours' notice before the news conference was set. The reporters hurried to change their schedules. Camera workers hurried to set up their gear. There was a lot of conjecture on social media over what may justify such urgency. At precisely 2 p.m., Engelbert came into the room. Eastern Time, her actions methodical, her face solemn. She had a bottle of water and 1 sheet of paper. There were none of the customary greetings. Warm-up statements and short conversation were absent. She moved to the podium and started speaking right away. With a steady but worried tone, Engelbert said, "Thank you for joining us on short notice." Being a league where players have agency and voice has long been a source of pride for the WNBA. Today, we recognize a scenario that illustrates the potential and difficulties associated with player empowerment. Reporters leaned forward, cameras focused, and the room tensed. She went on, "The league is aware of significant roster changes with the Indiana Fever. 3 athletes have stated that they plan to leave the team. We acknowledge the impact this has on the team, the fans, and the league as a whole, even as we support player choices and their freedom to pursue the greatest opportunities for their careers." She stopped and drank some water. The room was completely silent. To guarantee a seamless transition, the WNBA will collaborate closely with all stakeholders. We are dedicated to helping the Indiana Fever organization get through this difficult time, and we are equally dedicated to making sure that these leaving players find opportunities to succeed. Immediately, people started asking questions. With desperation in their voices, reporters yelled over one another. The 3 players were who? What were the causes? Was there a pay issue here? A problem with coaching? Had any league rules been broken by the team? Engelbert raised her hand. "At this point, I am unable to comment on particular player circumstances. The participants will have the chance to express their opinions when and if they so want, and the Fever organization will shortly release a statement." More inquiries, now louder and more pressing. Engelbert replied, raising her voice just enough to be heard over the commotion. "What I can tell you is that this situation did not arise from any single incident. From what we can tell, it represents a build-up of worries over time. The league takes these circumstances seriously, and in order to better assist players and teams in preventing such incidents in the future, we will be reviewing our procedures." Only 12 minutes were spent on the news conference. After taking 5 questions and failing to provide satisfactory answers, Engelbert left the room to a chorus of unanswered follow-up questions. The news went viral on all major sports platforms in a matter of minutes. Millions of phones received a notice from ESPN. Hot takes, speculations, and reactions erupted on Twitter, which is now X. In order to address the breaking news, sports talk radio stations paused their programs. The first response was incredulity. Many believed that there had been a misinterpretation or misunderstanding. This can't be true, surely. A team that had just undergone such a spectacular comeback couldn't possibly be losing 3 players. However, reality sank in as the minutes stretched into hours and additional information started to surface from different sources. This was taking place. This was actual. The WNBA's feel-good story of the season, the Indiana Fever, was collapsing catastrophically. The markets for sports betting responded right away. The Fever's chances of winning the title, which had been favorable only hours before, drastically decreased. The odds of different individuals taking home individual trophies changed significantly. The sports gambling industry was affected financially. Fans started congregating outside Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Some wanted more details, while others just wanted to be close to the location that had so delighted them only a few weeks prior. When television crews arrived in the arena, they conducted spontaneous interviews with shocked fans who found it difficult to express their emotions. With tears in her eyes, Bun Fan murmured, "I don't understand. We were excellent. At last, we were doing well. How does this occur?" Another fan, clutching a basketball and sporting a Fever jersey, stood calmly and gazed at the arena entrance, seemingly waiting for someone to come out and inform him that everything had been a grave error. For a moment, the sports world, which is famed for its quick reflexes and heated views, was at a loss for words. This story did not lend itself to simple narratives. This has nothing to do with a botched contract negotiation or a disgruntled superstar requesting a transfer. This was something more profound, more intricate, and far more concerning. The startling reality of Sophie Cunningham's departure came first. Given her intense competitiveness, it would be devastating if she were to leave any team she was affiliated with, even if she wasn't formally on the Fever. No one could have imagined such a decisive breakup, especially from a team on the verge of a breakthrough, but rumors had been circulating for weeks about deepening conflicts behind closed doors. Grit, tenacity, and an unyielding will to succeed have been the cornerstones of Sophie Cunningham's career. She is the kind of player that produces winning plays that don't appear in the box score because she is 6 feet 1 inch. The diving save that maintains possession. The screen that allows a teammate to take an open shot. The defensive rotation that stops a simple basket. Her path to becoming a professional basketball player was not assured. Cunningham was not a highly sought-after high school athlete while growing up in Columbia, Missouri. As a 3-star recruit, she was viewed by coaches at the University of Missouri as a reliable contributor rather than a standout. She disproved them. Cunningham had developed into one of the most complete players in the SEC by her final year at Missouri. She scored 18.4 points per game on average, pulled down 7.0 rebounds, and gained recognition for her clutch efforts in crucial games. Cunningham was unavoidably at the core of Missouri's upsets of highly ranked teams. In the second round of the 2019 WNBA draft, she was chosen by the Phoenix Mercury. Once more, the expectations were low. It is frequently difficult for second-round selections to make rosters, let alone make significant contributions. As usual, Cunningham went above and above. She gained notoriety in Phoenix for her tenacity, her readiness to protect the best player on the other team, and her capacity to make big shots when it mattered most. Her ferocity was adored by her fans. Her hard ethic was admired by her teammates. In stressful circumstances, coaches trusted her. Basketball insiders were therefore shocked to learn that Cunningham might be involved in the Fever's crisis. This player didn't give up on teams. This person didn't back down from a challenge. If Cunningham was departing, there was a serious problem. According to people familiar with the matter, Cunningham had grown more and more dissatisfied with the team's course, especially with regard to the distribution of playing time and offensive tactics. Speaking anonymously, a number of teammates attested to the fact that Cunningham had expressed concerns during team meetings, in private talks with coaches, and ultimately in more direct encounters with front desk staff. One teammate, who wished to remain unnamed, described her as a warrior. However, even warriors must be heard and respected. There were discussions that ought to have taken place but didn't. Concepts that ought to have been taken into account were rejected. Issues that ought to have been handled were disregarded. The breakdown is said to have started during the mid-season evaluation sessions, which are customary in professional sports where coaches and players talk about expectations, responsibilities, and performance. These